I've always considered myself a wannabe fan of the Souls-like genre. I've played and own many of the entries like Dark Souls 2 and 3, Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, as well as many Souls-likes like Nioh 1 and 2, as well as Code Vein, but I've never finished any of them. That's now changed with me recently finishing Stellar Blade, originally released on the PS5 and now out on PC. Now, Stellar Blade grabbed my attention when it first revealed as Project Eve back in 2019, and I eagerly awaited its release since. After skipping out on the PS5 release though, time finally cleared up, just in time for the PC release. So, was it everything I expected it to be? I can safely say yes, and surprisingly, even more. Stellar Blade takes place in a world where threatening creatures called Naytibas have threatened all human life on Earth. Now, you play as Eve, a member of the 7th Airborne Squad, sent from a space colony down to Earth to reclaim it and destroy the Elder Naytiba, considered to have created all Naytibas. You'll eventually team up with several people who will support you in your cause, with two of the main ones being Adam, a human from the last city on Earth called Zion, and Lily, an engineer from the 5th Airborne Squad. If I say more, it's going to get into spoiler territory, so I'm going to avoid that. But I want to just say, I actually really enjoyed the story. It may not explain everything perfectly, and it is more upfront than the Souls games, but I felt invested to find out more about the Naytibas, Eve herself, the colony, Earth, and all the people around it that I met along the way. Combat is the main attraction for this game. It's a nice mix of Souls-like and standard action combat. It gives you that slow, methodical combat from the Souls games where you're going to need to find your openings or you're going to get punished with massive damage. But it also mixes in a lot of combo-heavy attacks with strong special moves that can help you out where it's needed. I never got bored of this combat. I actually felt like I continued to try to find new ways to maximize my damage output every time I turned it on. And I also routinely tried out different combos to see which one works in certain settings, or depending on the enemy or enemies that I'm fighting, what would be more optimal. Now, you can also get an upgrade later in the game, which then lets you get into ranged combat, which then can complement your fights when it's needed. But I will say, this is where my biggest critique on the combat lies, is in the ranged combat. Now, you get different ammo, which then in turns makes you use your ranged weapon in different ways. Now, the typical one that you will start with is like a pistol, and it uses slug bullets. You can also get things that are called stingers, which basically are lock-on missiles. You can get blaster cells, which are basically a laser beam. And you can also get shotgun cells, which are self-explanatory, and then you can get special ammo, which of course does special things. And while all of this sounds great and there's a lot of variety, I really only found myself using the slugs pretty much throughout the game. Now, I would occasionally switch to the other ammo, either just to use it or to try and find good scenarios when I would want to use it. But often I just didn't feel like it was really doing anything for me, so it didn't end up getting used. I wish there was a little bit more of times where I felt enticed to try one of these ammos or switch to it because it was necessary to damage a certain Naytiba. But overall, it just kind of was there as options if you wanted it. But either way, the combat overall was fine, and so was the ranged weapons, just outside of that critique. Now, in this game, there are a lot of costumes and equipment that you can put on Eve. This game was made by Shift Up. It's the same people who make Nikki, Goddess of Victory. So if you know that game, you know many of these outfits on Eve can be pretty revealing. Now, the good thing, for some, is that the costumes don't actually impact any of your stats, well, outside of one of them. So if you aren't a fan of the more revealing outfits, you can just put one on that you do like. For instance, maybe the starting outfit where she's fully clothed, and you can roll the rest of the game in that outfit. Now, I did say outside of one because if you chose to not wear any outfit, which you can do, you can unequip your outfit and basically have a naked Eve. Shift Up does make it to where you take increased damage for doing so. So if you want to go naked, well, prepare for a harder challenge. I won't lie, I find that really fun and fascinating. I never ended up doing that, but of course I think it is a really cool mechanic for Shift Up to use, where it basically goes, look, if you don't want to wear any armor, then take some extra damage. Now, there are a lot of different ways you can edit Eve through accessories, hairstyles, hair color, and you can even put on costumes on Lily, Adam, and the drone that they use to follow you through the game. So there's a lot of options to flex your creative muscles and give the aesthetic to the game that you want. I kept bouncing around different outfits. I mainly just put outfits on Eve that I thought she looked really cool in. And then when it came to Adam and the robot, I didn't put any outfit on Lily because I thought her starting outfit was really cool. But Adam and the robot, I kind of bounced around with different ones just because of however I felt during that time. Now, the rest of your equipment is pretty standard and does impact your stats. Some are upgradable, like Exospines, which you can later get 2 of them to equip and give you bonus stats off of that. Others do have levels of the gear, so those are mostly on the sockets, and they can range from a 1-star socket to a 3-star socket, and obviously 3-star sockets usually are better, but there's no limit on how many 3-star sockets you use. You can at some point get to 4 sockets that you can equip, so you could have 3-star sockets for all 4 spots if you really want, but I think you would want to put it to the combat style and the way that you're playing those sockets for matching that style. Now let's talk about boss battles for a second, because for me, boss battles were awesome. I enjoyed every single one. I don't think I disliked any of them, and even the ones where it did make me go, oh my god, this boss sucks and it's cheap and broken and blah 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 this. Because like once I finally defeated them, some of them ended up becoming my favorite bosses of the game, and I was just hyped. I love the variety of how they looked, their different attack patterns, the way they defended, the different arenas, the different ways they evolved. It was a really cool experience throughout the game. And they're probably some of my most favorite boss designs in recent memory. Now, the final boss that you can challenge will change depending on the actions that you've done in the game. The one that I ended up fighting is I'm going to call the true boss, because it does lead to the true ending. And that one pissed me off. That one felt like I was smacking my head against the wall and was just crushing me at first. But I will say that probably after my 20-something try, definitely was about past 20, I finally did it, and it felt so satisfying. It was so good. Would not put that as one of my favorite bosses though. I have a grudge against that boss, but it was a really, really cool final boss. Now, touching back on the story for a second, while I did say I really liked it, the ending was the low point of this game for me. Now, it's not bad, I wouldn't describe it that way, but it did leave a lot to be desired, which sucks because, as I said, I was enjoying the story so much throughout this game, and I still would say I really enjoyed this story. If there was a bit more explanation or maybe an additional scene, I probably would have liked the ending a bit more, but it just left me wanting at the end, and that's not the feeling I'd like to have as I ended a game. Now, I will give some slack to Shift Up, because they did say in a recent interview that the gameplay finished early in development and they were playing catch up throughout when it came to the narrative. They also said that the narrative will be a bigger focus in the announced sequel. So the sequel was likely in mind as they were doing this catch up, and so they wanted to leave things for that sequel. Not the best in that aspect. I would have liked to obviously still condense and make this feel very satisfying at the end, but again, it's not bad. Now, there are 2 other endings that you can get, again, depending on what you do in the game. So there is replayability if that is something that you are looking for. It has a New Game Plus. There's additional trophies and achievements in New Game Plus that you can acquire, as well as skills that you can acquire. So you could go to the other endings and maybe those will feel more satisfying to you, but because this ending that I got is widely regarded as the true ending or the best ending, it just, again, was something I wish they had a stronger finality to in the cutscene. Now, to wrap this all up, I want to sit here and tell you that I was surprised at how much I liked Stellar Blade. But a part of me always knew that I would if I was able to get around to it and finish it. Now, I would say the part that did surprise me about this is the fact that for others, Stellar Blade was a good game. To me, though, I'm going to easily describe it as a great game. I would potentially even go as far as to say that it was amazing. And that's even knowing some of the critiques I thought with the story and that there are things that they could improve upon. There's much more room for improvement on this game. But after finishing it and playing it for the 30-something hours that I ended up playing it, I will say Stellar Blade easily has become one of my favorite games that I've played this year. And if you're asking me for a recommendation on this, I'm gonna tell you, go check it out. Go play this. It's a lot of fun. It's something that I think if you are fine with a hard challenge combat, then you're gonna like this. And if you are fine with a hard challenge combat, but you're just not so gripped by like the Souls combat where it's, I will say it's a little slow depending on the weapons you have. This one is a little bit faster, and so it feels really good. It feels snappy, and it feels great when you pull off these awesome combos. So with that all said, I'm gonna give Stellar Blade a 9 out of 10 on my personal scale. And again, one of my favorite games that I've played this year. So I'm so happy that I stopped all my other games to play this one. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you liked the review, give this video a like. And if you've made it this far in the video, then clearly you like the channel or you like what I'm saying. So why not subscribe? Hit that subscribe button. Show your support for the channel. That way, when I make a new video or when I go live for a stream, you can come back and come check them out. Also, I'm gonna ask for those that are Souls fans, comment down below what Souls or Souls-like boss has been your favorite to go up against. Mine, I will say, is a spoiler in Stellar Blade, so I can't say the thing because I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can, even though the game's been out for over a year. But if you know, spoiler-wise, what that boss is, then you're in the know. Because yeah, it was a really fun fight, and it was also shocking when said boss appeared. Kinda, not fully, but a little shocking. And if you haven't played any Souls-like, then just comment down maybe your favorite boss in any other game, because I'm always down to find more games to come out and check out. So with that said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into this video. And as always, stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you all on the next video or stream. But until then, enjoy yourselves.